Hey brother! Ben, Hogwarts Castle has many mysteries. Like, how do the paintings consume alcohol? Like, does their drink ever run out? Why is Harry content to talk to the painting of Albus Dumbledore? Like, does he count as the real guy? And are you telling me not one single portrait saw the giant basilisk slithering through the hallways and Chamber of Secrets? I mean, look at this shot. Like, how many paintings even are there?
36. Counted them myself.
Personally, I think it's more, but maybe someone didn't pay their math budget. Also, maybe it's possible I just don't understand how the paint works in Harry Potter. Paint aside though, there is one giant thing living at Hogwarts that I feel like we never got much of an explanation for, and that is the giant squid living in the lake. What in the name of Merlin's pants is even the point of this thing? Hey, brother! Ben, question for you. How do you make a squid laugh? 10 tickles. Ooh, sorry, really cracking myself up there. That's gonna be a good video. The giant squid has been around in Harry Potter since the beginning. And I mean like the beginning. Even in J.K. Rowling's earliest sketches of Hogwarts Castle, she made sure to include in the middle of the lake the giant squid. Like, she even references it in her notes. As is the Whomping Willow, which I just love, by the way, because it just shows how much of the story she actually had planned in advance. But with that in mind, the Whomping Willow serves several major plot elements, like Harry and Ron crash into it. Ron breaks his wand, which makes Lockhart lose his memory.
And, who am I?
Actually, it is planted over the secret entrance to the Shrieking Shack where Harry's third-year professor used to go to transform into a werewolf in secret with Harry's dad, conveniently. Seriously, why do people think this is a safe place? No, guys, you're not hearing me. The punching tree is protecting the students from the werewolf. Yes, but don't you think if the students get too close, that could be a little dangerous? Why would they get close to a punching tree? Are you kidding me? They are definitely going to get close. Are they though? Yes. Are they though? Point is, the Whomping Willow did stuff. And yet, despite its earliest of inclusions in Harry Potter, the giant squid never does anything to be relevant to anyone ever, lazily sunbathing around at the end of term. Doesn't even show up when Harry himself has to dive to the bottom of the lake. Like, what is the point? I suppose you could just say it adds to the majesty and the mystery of the castle. Like, of course there's a giant creature living in the lake in wizard school you have to know to avoid. But here's the thing. Giant squids actually exist. If you're going to choose some sort of a giant creature to exist in your magical lake, why choose something so distinctly non-magical? You could even just give it more of an air of mystery. Just call it the monster in the lake. It would literally change nothing. Just think of how many videos we'd have speculating about that. Interestingly, J.K. Rowling might disagree with you on the unmagical front. Although their extraordinary bodies have been washed up all over the world, it was not until 2006 that a live giant squid was captured on film by Muggles. I strongly suspect them of having magical powers. And she does have a little bit of a point here. Like, despite these massive creatures, and I mean massive, like 59-foot long, 1-ton creatures existing, we as humans have a very hard time getting a look at them. But despite not being able to see them very frequently, we do know a lot about squids, and a lot of the things that the one in the lake does not seem to add up very much with real life squids. For example, in one instance in the book, Harry inadvertently feeds it a bit of toast, and on another occasion, the Weasley twins and Lee Jordan are tickling its tentacles by poking it with a stick. And while that sounds like a wonderful way to spend the afternoon, and let's be real, what could ever be better? The issue is that squids would not be able to digest bread at all, and they have really sensitive skin that would not hold up to being poked with a stick. And really, that's only the tip of the squidberg as far as I'm concerned, because besides adolescent wizards feeding it indigestible food and poking it full of holes with sticks, it is still amazing that it's alive at all. For one, the Black Lake is a freshwater lake, or more specifically a Scottish loch, and squids only live in salt water. Switching between the two is not advisable. Like, I don't want to get into the science of it all, but basically, you'd explode. Or, well, more like your cells would. You'd probably look like real drippy in the skin department. And don't nobody want drippy skin. But basically, if you live in salt water, your body is adjusted to the salt, keeping some of the water out of your body. Take the salt away though, and suddenly too much water comes in, and in a weird roundabout sort of way, the fish would drown. Okay, maybe not drown, overhydrated, but you know, same thing. The other reason it should definitely be dead is that the main reason the giant squid has evaded human eyes for so long is because it lives deep, deep, deep down in the ocean. And the pressure down there is super, super high. And what happens when you bring a fish from down there up to the surface too quickly, if it doesn't have time to adjust, it will explode. I don't have any further explanation this time. That's just actually literally what would happen. So if you're keeping track, giant squids can't digest bread, get poked by sticks, exist in fresh water or in shallow water. And yet there is one existing in the Black Lake, basically a bread-filled, stick-infested, shallow pool of fresh water. I mean, you gotta be squidding me. How do, giant squid? How do? Okay, it's not really that shallow, but the fact that Harry is able to go to the very, very bottom of it and continue to exist at all definitely means it is not deep enough by a long shot, no matter how much gillyweed you had for breakfast. Now, interestingly, this whole situation is as unusual as it is because of information discovered after the books were published. We mentioned this earlier, but in 2019, it might seem hard to believe that we just can't go get a good look at a giant squid if we want to, but it's really not that easy. The first book, and therefore the first mention of the giant squid, came out in 1997, and like we said earlier, we didn't even get a real look at a live one until since then. We have managed to learn a lot about them, but we've still only caught them on camera, like, and I'm not kidding, 3 more times that I'm aware of. So really, it's only retroactively that a lot of this doesn't make sense. But don't worry, J.K. Rowling, I think we can still get you out of this jam. And you know, squid pro quo, if you want to repay us and like retweet this video or something, I accept. So, how does the squid exist in the lake? It seemed like there was probably a bunch of options, like maybe it's not really a squid, maybe it's like an animagus. But that idea has actually been debunked by JK herself, who initially sparked the idea when she joked that Godric Gryffindor might still be alive as the giant squid and that he would transform back into a human at night and wander the grounds, but again, that was totally a joke. Not real. It also seemed likely enough that the giant squid in the lake isn't a normal giant squid, that it's actually harboring some sort of hidden magical talents that it's using to keep itself alive, which is fine, but it still doesn't explain how it got to the lake. Because as far as I know, there's only one in the lake, unless it happens to have a twin. In that case, do you think they could be identical? By the way, in case you didn't know, me and my wife are also expecting twins. Humans, not squids. It also occurred to me that there is a certain magizoologist who, according to Grindelwald, was expelled from Hogwarts for endangering another human life.
Thrown out of Hogwarts for endangering human life.
And we have seen something like this before in the form of Hagrid and Aragog, and it does feel like exactly the kind of thing Newt could get expelled for, having some big creature that other people assume is dangerous, but what he considers just misunderstood. In fact, we even see him cradling and feeding what looks like it might be a baby giant squid right here in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Although this has later been confirmed to instead be something called a marmite? Marmite, you know, like the stuff you put on toast. Just don't feed it to the giant squid because it can't digest it. And also, if it was this squid, then that would be cannibalism. And also, actual Marmite, really not very good on toast or anything. But then in the Fantastic Beasts Magic Movie Handbook, it is revealed that Newt was actually expelled for something Lita did with a Jarvie, but then he took the blame so she wouldn't get expelled. Which I guess doesn't mean he didn't release it into the lake, but it does mean he wasn't expelled for releasing it into the lake. But whether or not he put it in there, I actually have a different explanation for how it is able to stay alive when it should definitely be dead. Allow me to direct your attention to the arrival of the Durmstrang students via underwater lake portal? Personally, I have always assumed that their spectacular lake arrival was a function of the ship itself, but now I am not so sure. In fact, on Pottermore, J.K. Rowling has written that she initially had a vague idea, a notion that the lake might lead to other places, and that the ship's arrival hints that you might be able to take a magical shortcut to other other waterways. And boom, there you go. I think that right there could account for one, how the squid first arrived in the lake, and also how it is able to stay alive in the lake. Either it is not always actually there and is sometimes returning to a salty body of water as needed, or else it is using the magic of the lake to summon salt water from elsewhere to keep itself alive. But that still doesn't explain the point of it in the lake, or the story for that matter. Good news is though, I think we have identified its actual purpose thanks to young Dennis Creevy, who claims to his brother Carlin upon entering the school for the first time that he fell out of the boat and was put back in by a large tentacle. He is referring to the ceremonial boat ride led by Hagrid, taken by the first year students when they first arrive at Hogwarts. Gotta tell you though, we have seen the boats and they don't have any sails or propellers or anything, and yet there they are, just moving, so you know. How do boats? True, in the limited amount of magic we have seen Hagrid do by the time Harry gets to the boat ride for the first time, one of those things is actually to move a boat. But I have a hard time thinking even Dumbledore would be comfortable with him moving all of the first years across a body of water the moment they arrive at wizarding school. Like, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would make parents happy, especially when he just isn't supposed to be doing magic at all. If only there was a giant animal capable of pulling the boats across the water that was known to be near in case anybody fell in. Oh wait, giant squid solved. It really fits very perfectly. I mean, all the other students are going up to the castle being led by animals they also normally can't see. And it explains why Hagrid is the one leading the boat ride, because he's the one who's able to control the squid. No more than 4 to a boat, Hagrid called, pointing to a fleet of little boats sitting in the water by the shore. Harry and Ron were followed into their boat by Neville and Hermione. Everyone in, shouted Hagrid, who had a boat to himself. Right then. Forward! Forward, let me just say, is pretty obviously not a spell. No, it is absolutely a command. Even the math works. I mean, the average class size at Hogwarts is roughly 40 students. There's only 4 students allowed to a boat, and that would mean that there are 10 boats. And guess how many tentacles a giant squid has? That's right! 8 plus 2. Specifically that and not 10, because squids actually have 8 legs and then 2 arms, but either way, it's sort of the same difference. Or some, I guess. See, you guys, this is why I am always fighting for the math budget, because it is totally worth it. And that is also why the giant squid is in the lake, so that it can pull the first years across the lake on their first visit to Hogwarts. Ben, my question for you and everyone else is, do you agree? Does the squid exist to pull the students to the castle on their first trip? Let me know all of your thoughts and theories in the towel section down below. Guys, I am excited to reveal the very first shirt of the newly launched Super Carlin Brothers Shirt Club over on our Patreon. This is the very first one. We will be releasing new shirts quarterly. If you want to get your hands on this one, you need to make sure you sign up by the end of October. We also have a special limited offer going on the Patreon, where if you sign up by the end of October, you will also get these awesome holographic stickers and posters. You can check it all out via a link in the description down below. Thanks as always for watching today's video. Please remember to leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Harry Potter action from us. If you want to see how Hagrid might actually secretly be a millionaire, you can check out this video right here. Or if you want to see what house he was actually in, you can check out this video right here. But Ben, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you in another life, brother.